Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Austin B Media. I'm the editor-in-chief, Austin Belzer, and I guess the only person at Austin B Media, so I guess I don't know why I introduced myself as editor-in-chief. But anyways, I'm here with the director of On the Way Home, which is premiering at Slamdance this year at the Yarrow, I believe. Let me know if I get any of these facts wrong. Um, Saturday, January 20th, 3:15 p.m. Mountain Time, I believe, at Theater A. And then you also have a second screening on January 23rd. Are you going to be in the
Tuesday.
virtual as well?
I'm not. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're watching from home, you can also access Slamdance channel, super cheap. One of the cheapest festival options out there. I think it's
Yes,
like
we will be.
$7
We will
or
be.
something like that. Yeah. Um, but yeah, Giorgi, thank you so much for coming on. So I guess
Pleasure.
first things first. How would you describe On the Way Home?
Yeah, On the Way Home is a documentary film that follows two Georgian families displaced by a war that are like having a shelter in this abandoned Soviet sanatoriums in Western Georgia in a town called Skaldubo. This film is very beautiful and very touchy and very personal. And I feel like everyone that's going to watch it will have this. We really try to make this, again, very personal. So people's going to be like very close to the characters. And that's what I really love about it.
Yeah, and something I noticed while I was watching it just a few minutes ago, the sound design. There's, I think I noted that the opening is just very what they'd call diegetic, just in nothing added to it, no score, anything like that. So let's talk a little bit about that. It's kind of this comparison between this peaceful environment that one would assume based on the birds chirping in the background, contrasted with the reality of the situation. So would you like to talk about a little bit of that sound design?
Yeah, right. So we were trying when we edited the film. We really had like many options how to open the film, and we landed on this kind of like sneak peeking the how to build the sanatoriums. So we decided to like show off a little bit of a sanatorium, like hotel shots, and like natural world that we were in, and whatever we were feeling while filming. So I just really wanted to show off this kind of the town itself and nothing else. Yeah, just birds and just people and dogs walking around. Whatever's really happening in that town, that's what I was trying to achieve with that.
Yeah, there's this one shot of Nikusha. Am I saying that right?
Yes, perfect.
Uh,
Perfect.
Nikusha, I think he's got a skateboard or something. And on the left, you see, oh, there's these trees, but then you think about it some more, and you're like, wait, this is the result of a conflict a conflict of war. So it's interesting. But let's talk about the conflict. From what I understand, you have a connection to the Abkhaz. Am I saying that right? Abkhaz.
If I have any connections with Abkhazia?
Uh, am I saying Abkhaz right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
Abkhaz or Abkhazia. Abkhaz would be a person from Abkhazia, but
Okay.
the place is called Abkhazia.
Okay. Abkhazia, the Georgian conflict.
Right.
How did your experience affect how you approach this documentary?
So, my experience, I'm not from Abkhazia or I'm not a refugee, but
Okay.
my interest with the social justice and the people who were struggling was always really high. So, whenever I saw these people, I was traveling in Georgia actually with my wife, and I was like visiting this town where the film is set, Altubo. And whenever I saw these people, I really felt that this story should have been shown to the vast audience, and not only like outside of Georgia, but also Georgians. Because again, like I'm not a refugee, but I didn't know much about it. Like I knew, of course, refugees and all this struggling they went through, but like this little details of their lives that is shown in on the way home. This is what I was trying to give it to the audience, Georgians and also outside of Georgia. I don't know if I really like answered the question right, but yeah,
Oh,
if you want to.
I never think that there's a right or wrong way to answer a question. You know, especially in a documentary, I think your experience is your experience. Especially with telling a story from that perspective.
I always had, while like filming these people, they always asked me if I was a refugee. And when they heard that I was not, surprised, but at the same time, I also looked at it this way that I can be subjective and like show everything as is.
Yeah, and you know, I think it is very just focusing on IMZ. Is that how you say your name?
Yamze.
Um, Yamze. I think it is a very subjective thing of you are focusing in on their, I guess, perspective of the situation. Of I believe the text on screen reads 81 as of filming, and then Nakusha is 12. So you've got this kind of cross generational thing happening where IMZ has all this context for the conflict, and Nakusha, who's just born into it. Um, I guess, can you talk about that a little bit on how you found them, and how they represent the larger conflict and the broader community of the Georgians?
Yes, of course. The way I found them, first of all, was that we like kind of went to the town, and I had a somebody who was more familiar with the town than I was, and they kind of showed me around.
Mhm.
And Yabze was one of the first one that I met on that day. She was literally on the balcony sitting with her friends, and I had a little chit chat with her, and she told me a little bit of her story. And then I took notes, and I was like, she can be very interesting. And the way she represented herself and the way she in the war, living in Abkhazia for so many years, went through a war, took that crazy way after she was expelled and her family was expelled. So that's how I landed with her. And she, after like a few days, we got very close, and she was like so open with me. And that really gave me another, like sort of advantage to be with her throughout the filming process. And on the other hand, with Nikusha, we were looking for somebody young that was, like born in the refugee family. And while like filming B-roll in the town, because we didn't want to lose any time, we were in the town. It's just walks in his hotel slash sanatorium with his skateboard, and we were like, "Hey, come on in!" Like my friend slash PA, actually, he was like, "Look at this girl. He's so beautiful. We thought he was a girl at first, and like with long hair and stuff." And he just comes in, and we just started talking to him, and he was interesting. And of course, at first, we had a little bit of like kind of do not like cross the line because he's young, and let's
Sure.
maybe talk to your family first. That's how we started. Yeah, and I feel like Yamze's by showing Yamze, it was like showing the whole Abkhazia, whole conflict, and what we went through, And with Nikusha, who hasn't experienced any of it, but he's a future, he can be one of the ones that will reconcile maybe these two people, and have the political urge of like, yeah, let's come back together and let's be once together as we used to be like 100 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of saw it, and let me know if I'm. And I don't think there's a wrong way to see things. It was kind of narrative versus um, what's happening now, what the current society is like, if that makes sense. Um,
Mhm.
at least if speaking from a narrative perspective. I guess I'd be remiss to not mention. I guess there's some parallels to kind of what's going on in Ukraine right now, and how this documentary shines light on humanitarian challenges. So, how do you see this film being part of that larger conversation?
Yeah, of course. So we started filming before the Russia-Ukrainian war, and war started like so while we were filming this, the other in the other part of the world, this the refugee crisis, the refugee problem was still like on and still was happening. Syria, Afghanistan, etc., etc. Now we have Israel and Palestine, Ukraine, same situation, but because Ukraine and Russia is very close to Georgia. This is the same thing again. Like our film is not very political, but it's more pro like human trauma and
Yeah.
what they're going through. So this is exactly like we wanted to raise an awareness of what these people are going through, what refugees can be going through, what are their struggles, how they can like they have this lives like we have regularly. And next day they're expelled, lose their family members, like all of a sudden, right? So all these little psychological traumas caused by political decisions affects everybody, the people that were just minding their own business, like living their own lives. So of course, like whatever's happening in Ukraine is pretty close, and Ukrainian people who are expelled from Ukraine and kind of trying to find a shelter in the neighbor countries, they're going to be going the same way, like probably better conditions, like not like those hotels that it's represented on the way home. Maybe they won't have like water coming down, dripping on their heads, but like the psychological trauma is the same, exactly the same. They won't like they'll be called refugees forever. The generations will be called refugees forever. Nikusha, who was born in 2009, our young boy character, he's called a refugee, even though he was born in this town where the film was made, and he feels like he's like boy from Salto, but he's called refugee. So this is the kind of like Ukraine and other part of the world refugee problems, like the psychological and human trauma.
Yeah, and I think going back to the documentary lending of it, almost forgot the word. Um, it's early. Can you tell?
Yeah,
But
it's kind of late to where I am. So yeah,
I do think it is very subjective, and I don't want audiences who watch or listen to the interview to get the wrong idea that it's taking a stance or anything like that. I think if I did compare it to anything, I hate comparing things, but audiences love comparing things. So it reminds me of a documentary I saw last year at Slamdance. I don't know if you got the opportunity to see it. Um,
I
it
did not.
was it was a Sweetheart Deal. It's
Okay, I will definitely check it out.
Yeah, I don't know if it's retrieved distribution yet. I have an interview up, but it's the reason I mention it is it's a very similar subjective kind of here are their stories, make up your own, do with it what you will, right? Um, and I think that's probably the purest form of documentaries. Is when it's just saying, here's the evidence, do with it. But I guess that long-winded answer to say there's kind of that schism with documentary filmmaking today, where I see two subsets. Where there's one where I would call the passive, where it's more like this film, where you're just telling the stories, and the more active, where which is seems to be the more popular um, thing, where it's the kind where you'll see all the talking head interviews and asking the questions on camera. Um, so with that, I guess what advice would you give to people who want to make documentaries um, about topics that are maybe more sensitive than others and giving voices to those communities?
Yeah, thanks for like a film and show the characters are like to actually embed myself with them, get to know them really close, and have their trust, of course. And in my case, that really happened. Like we were also a very small group. We were like literally three of us, me, DP, and the sound guy. So we kind of became family. So being like truthful of who you are and kind of telling them what you're trying to show by their story and be very transparent is what helps to really get everything, like get all the little things that you need for piece to show literally what you're trying to show from them, to show their hearts, like how they feel, how they live. So like just be yourself and be like very kind to them and have their trust. I guess that's what it is. I just went actually 3 days ago. I visited Nikusha and his family. His mother just got back from Turkey like 2 weeks ago for good, so they are reunited now. Yeah, so we had a great time. I showed them the film for the first time. I was kind of nervous, but they loved it, and I was even like with the grandmother. I was like, I hope I didn't show anything you didn't want in the film, because again, like we people are very proud, so sometimes we don't want our like intimate lives, moments of our lives to be shown, but they really trusted me, which I'm very thankful. And yeah, like they were like, no, everything was great. Like what if they saw the film and they loved it? So yeah, again, like I maintain the relationship with them until today. Like almost every day we talk, like every week we just be yourself and be genuine.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best advice, because I think when I watch a documentary, that's what I'm looking for is it authentic to both sides of the story, of both the documentarian's experience, either learning or, just documenting. And, you know, yeah, I just look for that a lot. So if you're wondering what my criteria for a documentary is, documentarians, that's it. Is just be
Yeah.
honest. The viewer can tell when you're not being honest, when you're trying to um, do something that you don't necessarily agree with. And I'll be honest, in my reviews, if I ever feel something is dishonest, I cut it out entirely. Going back to the festival, um, or actually, I want to talk about you showing the film to IMZ, and appreciated the. I think there's some footage early on. Um, I forget whose perspective it's from. It looks like some home video footage of, I think, from 1998 or something like that. Um, I just want you to know I really appreciated that touch, because I think, further sells IAMZ's perspective uh, of just her life. I think of what she grew up with, and glad they liked the film. I feel like you spend what, probably 2 3 years on a documentary like this,
Like yeah,
and I think the worst thing would be finish the project and then, oh, you got to make another cut because somebody doesn't like it. Um,
right.
but anyhow, that said, going back to Slamdance, are you checking any other things out while
Yeah,
you're in
yeah,
town?
definitely. Yeah, I'm going definitely to see as many movies as possible. Like I'm gonna try to like watch at least all the documentaries and all the other films. Like it depends what's the schedule and things are going to be with me and my team, but I'm really going to try to make it to all the films.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend Bliss, not just because I had an interview with them a few days ago, but I think that's going to be a huge hit. Um, I guess the other two I've seen are Sundance. So unless you want to go across the street, um,
Yeah, we'll
um,
see if we get some passes. I
yeah.
might check some films out there too. Yeah.
Um, but with that said, I want people to check this out on the way home. Again, if you didn't catch it at the top of the interview, it premieres at the Yarrow on Saturday, January 20th at 3:15 p.m. In Theater A. And then on Wednesday, January 23rd, that's the second
Tuesday.
screening.
Tuesday.
Tuesday, January 23rd.
Tuesday.
Um,
Sorry. Yeah.
just
Tuesday,
remember
5.
January 23rd, 5 p.m., same theater. That's it.
Yes.
And if you can't find the Yarrow, it's 1800 Park Avenue in Park City, Utah. I think it's Slamdance HQ, which I think all of the screenings are at. So just go where you see a bunch of Slamdance people, and if you don't see Slamdance people, those are probably Sundance people. Just go across the street. um, but if you want more information on this, I'll have a review up on January 20th. And then you can find the trailer for the film, as well as even more details that I'll also include in my review. But just in case, I'll include a link to the Slamdance film page in the description of YouTube, the podcast, the website, everything, the whole enchilada. Thank you again for coming on. I know it's going to be a busy day. We've got what 9 days till Slamdance 2024. It's ever approaching, so I just want to thank you for taking the time to just appear on video and all like this. So,
Thank you so much.
and I hope we got to talk about all the facets of the documentary.
Yeah. Am I gonna see you in Slamdance?
Unfortunately, I try. I thought about doing Slamdance physically, um, but I just couldn't make it work. With it's
Sure.
also award season too, so I've got like catch up interviews. I got my first awards ballot in yesterday, and I'm realizing how many movies I haven't seen yet. Like 20 Days and Marupol is one I want to catch up with. Things like that. Um, but I'll catch up with those. But for those listening, watching, make sure do the things on YouTube. I'm not going to tell you to like and subscribe. People already tell you to do that. Um, but yeah, until next time.
Thank you, Austin, so much.